Begin transmission.
This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We've been seeing today that Frogmonger dropped, and I hope everyone had a chance to get them a Frogmonger. Let's see who all showed up so far. Shambolics there, Bjorn Jorgensen, good to see you. He was the first in. The Melvor in the house, the Frogmonger mongers on. No mongering for Melvor, though. And, of course, Largo's here with me as well. I'll bring him in just a second. He asked, what's a monger? Is this going to be not safe for work? No, it's going to be safe for work. And, of course, Jordell Fresh Breeze is here with us. Hello there, Jordell. Good to see you. And, of course, real quick, before we get started, I want to make a shout-out quick to all these Patreons who help keep the lights on here. If you like the content here on the show, please consider being a Patreon yourself. Grindhead Jim, Pope, Will McLaughlin, Jim Largo, Masters Maniac Mexico, and of course, Bjorn Jorgensen. And looks like OBS is in the house as well. Hello there, Ocean Breeze Salty, Miss Denise, good to see you today. And let me go ahead and bring Largo in. And make sure that your mic's unmuted there, Largo. How's it going, my friend?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I kind of laid down for a little nap after laying up all night reading a book, and I'm not conscious yet. So we'll see what happens.
I figured it's the case when I didn't get any response out of you earlier today. Question. Now, this begs a question before we get really started. What book were you so enthralled in? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, it was the Encyclopedia Galactica. No, I'm kidding. It was a brand new book that came out from a fellow by the name of Bill Nedrow. Some of us know him from the Action Force Mission File comics that he was doing with Action Force. He's also done some G.I. Joe stories, and he's just a good all-around writer of military fiction, if you're into that. This book is the first novel from Action Force, and it is called Broken Alliances. And I think I have it here. Let me see if I can get my camera to work. Not that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's the cover. And so far, so good. I'm really enjoying it.
Now, this was the main thing that you had on that last short that you put up, is it not? Or have you put that up yet?
I did, and yes, I was really excited to get this because been talking with some other friends of mine that are Action Force enthusiasts, and they're saying this is going to be cool. It's kind of a precursor of things to come because Mr. Vala is working on doing a major motion picture. So this will kind of give us a taste of what is to come, maybe.
And George says he'll be picking up a copy soon. So
Cool.
How far in have you gotten, just out of curiosity?
Well, just a few chapters, and then I kind of nodded off. So so far it's real good. It kind of gives, from the point of view of the people who are experiencing what's happening in this storyline, it's set a little bit in the future, and some problems have befallen the United States, and things have gotten bad. So you're seeing it from the point of view of people who have lived through this cataclysm, if you will. And it's the term that is come to be known. It's called the decline. So I won't spoil anything, but it's definitely, so far it's really good. It's really well written, and it definitely pulls you in. But
Okay.
once I finish it, I'll do a review.
That sounds great, man. Now, just out of curiosity, also, are the characters that the action figures are based upon in this book, and are they featured?
Oh yes, and featured prominently. So they're this is definitely it's similar to like some of the old the paperback novels that we'd get that when a favorite movie would come out, then they'd start doing novels that were kind of based on those. It's similar to that, where you've got major characters in different and interesting situations.
Goji has a question. He says, what does Eduardo think of this book?
Well, he's been quiet on the subject so far, but you never know when he's going to pipe in.
Now, speaking of Eduardo, I don't hear him in the background, so we may just have to wake his ass up and hear him out there here pretty soon. He's bad about rooster crowing whenever you don't want him to.
Exactly. Eduardo is my rooster nemesis next door, and about the time I start to record something is about the time he decides he wants to start yelling. So,
all right,
you'll probably hear him sooner or later. He'll show up.
Well, on today's subject now, just as it came up, Adam, a good friend of mine over at Radical Toys, was live streaming the event right before and during the drop of the Frogmonger, who is an action figure that Mattel Creations has done in the Motu Origins line. And it was available only on Mattel Creations. And we were all enthralled and wondering how long this would last for online, and if we would all be able to secure our own.
Now, it's just going to be, it's kind of a similar drop with what they did with, what was it? Coldar or
Coldar, I think Mini Comics, Triclops.
Okay.
Wun-Dar et al., even Space Sumo. Now, Space Sumo wasn't very popular. He stuck around for a while, almost a week or so before I think he finally did sell out, if I'm not mistaken. But and someone correct me if I'm wrong. But I think Space Sumo did sell out. I secured a Space Sumo. He was easy to get. I waited until days after it was over with and secured a Space Sumo just so I could get two things off of him. I wanted to get his boots. And let's see if we can see this. I wanted to get the mask off of him, which I'm going to modify and see if it will work with Ninjor, who I actually have the head from the vintage Ninjor that was done by Lee Customs for me on my Ninjor. So
yeah, I was going to say that hood looks more like something a ninja would wear than a sumo, but what do I know?
Well, it's kind of got this on it, and I want to kind of make it kind of come up like this right here a little bit, kind of like Ninja's did. So,
okay.
Stay tuned, folks. I'm busy working on a few little things here. Getting back to the Frogmonger, I'm not feeling very well today, and I had some issues this morning, so I called in work, and I've been kind of home all day today, kind of bumming around. So around noonish or so, or well, not a little bit before noon, I guess it was around 10:30, 11, whenever Adam started streaming, I popped on Adam's stream and I said, well, what the hell, I'll just try for this, even though I had a couple of folks trying for it for me. Shout out to Motu Joneser and Grindhead Jim, who were going to get me a figure if I couldn't get it. I've already contacted them and told them that I was able to secure a figure. Thanks to Motu Joneser, who taught me the secret trick of being able to do it.
That is helpful.
Yeah, it's a not so secret trick. I think he revealed it here on one of my live streams. Basically, you have to go in and create you an account with Mattel Creations first. Make sure you have that done, and then when you go in, as soon as it goes live, you hit the thing to buy it, and the first screen that comes up is going to tell you it's sold out. That's a lie. You refresh the screen until you get the ability to buy it. You buy it. You go through all the steps to do it, and pretty much if you
So
do that, and once it gets in your cart, make sure that you have all your information there already. I use PayPal so that the PayPal pops right through. You don't have to sit there and type your credit card information all in all over again. And then once it's done, it'll tell you whether the figure is yours or not, and you'll get an email confirming it. Well, I was actually able to secure it, so I let Grindhead Jim know that a good friend of ours can have the figure that he was securing for me, and I'll go ahead and purchase that from Jim for that person. And Motu Joneser said that he would either see if Lyric wanted it, and if Lyric didn't, he said he would sell it.
well, that's one nice thing about our community is we all kind of try to look out for one another.
Oh, that's
We all
true.
live in so many different places that our shopping opportunities are a little different, even online. So
Yeah.
if one of us can't get a hold of something, maybe another can, and we'll just kind of try to work it out. So I like that.
Yeah. We're going to take a look at what the Frogmonger is going to look like here in just a second. Let me let someone know that we're in.
Okay.
There. There was another person who might show up today or two, so I think I warned you about that. So, but one of the persons that's going to show up was also napping like you are, so they're active, but I don't know if they're quite fully awake yet. But I just let them know that we are live. Let me pull myself up on a solo for just a second. I can still hear you, of course, there, Largo. But
Okay.
I wanted everyone to take a look here. Let me get that that overlay off the screen real quick. Boom. What we have here is what the Frogmonger figure is going to look like, and you're going to see also there on the screen the packaging, the blister card that's going to be there with him in it, and also the shipper box. These images, of course, have been pulled from various places, mostly from Mattel Creation site. But there you see the Frogmonger in all of his glory. Now let me pull up another one here. Here's some artwork. I think this is going to be on the back of the card of the Frogmonger, and of course, there at his feet, you can see some of the other denizens of the dungeon grate. The dungeon grate is kind of where we find him at. Let me see if I can pull that dungeon grate picture up for you guys. I think I saved that somewhere here.
So he's been in the lore for a little while in the background.
Yes and no. So I will say yes, he has been there in the background, but as far as being part of the lore, I'm going to go ahead and say not really, because I'm going to say that nobody ever considered that the Frogmonger would be something that would be a character. Let's just say that would actually be a figure or anything like that up until just here recently. Let's just say.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and let's take a look here. This is the sticker from Vintage Grayskull of the Dungeon Grate that was located right below the trap door of the throne room. And if you look there in the corner, I guess that would be the lower left corner. You can see a little eye and maybe a little mouth and a little froggy looking hand coming up out of that grate. That's supposed to be the Frogmonger.
Okay. So he's
And
been in Castle Grayskull this whole time. Just most of us didn't notice him.
that would be correct. As you can see, he's not the only denizen there. There is some sort of a furry clawed appendage coming out of there. There's the tentacle monster. I can't even remember what the name of that was. They gave it a name in the Mysteries of Grayskull set. You can see a skeletal arm coming out of there, and what looks like a couple little crabby feelers coming out of there. A snake. There's a werewolf-looking creature, kind of purplish up there at the top. There's a bunch of eyeballs looking out at it. There's looks like a chained hand, a couple of chained hands there on the side coming out of there. Could any of these characters perhaps show up as figures? Who knows? We already have the tentacle monster and frogmonger, so what else could they come up with? Well, we don't know.
So this might be some kind of a trend, you think, Bill, where they're coming up with some of the different background creatures to add to the line? Because there's a whole bunch of creatures in the mini comics and stuff.
Well, it could be. Here's Adam here. He just showed up. What's going on, man? Yeah, he just woke up, it looks like.
Yeah, I think he and I are on similar timelines.
And Jordell Fresh Breeze says that Mattel website's flaky. It messed me about quite a bit, but it came in good at the end. Well, good to hear that, Jordell. And of course, Mrs. Weird Fantastic has joined us today, saying it's good to have friends. That's absolutely right. And going on down here, the Melvor says someone is going to end up having a heart attack from these online stress fest trying to get figures before they sell out. Well, it's very interesting. Grindhead Jim decided that he was going to come on and drop a video right about the same time as Frogmonger was being sold after he secured his. And he began by touting Mattel for, hey, you've gotten better at this now that the debacle of Wun-Dar is over with, and we see that the Space Sumo stayed up longer, so maybe this would happen. And then nope, he sold out within 30 minutes. As a matter of fact, Adam can probably tell me exactly how long it took for the thing to sell out, because I think it sold out while he was still live streaming. And Melvor says that they'll totally make all of those figures. Well, I hope you're right there, Melvor, because they're going to have to do something if they're going to keep the line going. Now, and let me make sure you know that there are plenty of other figures that haven't been released from the vintage line that are waiting to be released, including Too Bad and several others. So I'm not saying that they must release these figures, but there's going to come a time when if the line's going to stay on, it's going to keep on going. And Radical Toys gives me the exact time. It took 50 minutes for this thing to sell out. So
wow.
There you
now,
go.
How did they sell out of something that they haven't even made yet? I still have I can't get my head around that. You think
they have made these? They made a certain amount of these.
Okay.
That's why they're selling out.
So this isn't a pre-order.
No, this is not a pre-order. Now, they did re-release Wun-Dar once again as a made-to-order. They released him twice, right? I think back to back. They first was if you order it like normal, you'll get it as soon it's already made as soon as you get it, and then the second one was what they call a made to order. So everybody who ordered that day would get a Wun-Dar, and they did that, I think, in response to the fact that there was a lot of online hoopla about the fact that Wun-Dar was selling out the way he did. So if this figure is very, very popular, they may do a made to order on him. They did the same thing with Grizzlor, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Now, what we're looking at here, Grindhead Jim found this on Twitter and shared it with me. This is something that will please a lot of people when we get up close to it. This is the prototype artwork for the figure. I wish I could tell you who the artist was so that I could give them props for this, but I'm not really sure. But if I zoom in on this, there's a couple of things worth noting, and that's about the buck. First of all, the head is new. It's using Skeletor's feet. However, the torso, it says there is a new pelvis, and the torso and the arms and legs are from Modulac. So Modulac is another figure. So the tooling that they're using here for the Frogmonger can be reused to make a Modulac figure. So
and that's one I know folks are wanting.
Yeah, and that means it's going to happen. And A. Troy tells me that it's Axel Jimenez. Thank you so much, A. Troy. I knew it was somebody there. Axel Jimenez's art. He does most of the cardboards and card backs and box art for Origins. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, A. Troy. And Ian Sweeney's here in the house. Yes. And Radical Toy says, yes, all the Frogmongers are made. So they made a certain amount of those, and that's how the thing sold out like it did. Now I'm wondering if in the future, because I have a sneaking suspicion that all of this is going to lead eventually to the Origins line going strictly online. And here we go. I'm back on the screen here. Let me get you back in here with me,
All right,
Margo. Yeah.
Now I got somebody here in the studio who is very excited to see this figure.
Mm-hmm.
He is looking for a brother from another mother.
Oh, it's Frogman from Marvel Legends.
That is the Leapfrog, yeah. And I like this figure. He's fun. So this Frogmonger would fit just right in with this fella.
I bet he would. As a matter of fact, I saw a custom Frogmonger figure that used that head when I was doing my research for this. So that's very interesting. Let's see what Melbor's in here. Made to order should be their default online strategy for figures like this. Why aggravate your target audience like this? I kind of agree with you, Melbor. But what I'm thinking, all of this is going to lead to the Origins line going strictly online. We all know that Spectre Creative came in and stirred the pot here this weekend and posted that video that some people think is an early April Fool's joke by the comment that he made during it that it's so many certain days until April, and he's saying that the line ends in April. And if you count those days, that goes all the way to April 1st, which is
April Fool's
Day.
I'd call it clickbait myself. I don't trust anything that fella wants to say.
I think I think he's looking for the views and the clicks. Absolutely. Excuse me there. But yeah, that's mainly what it's about. I think that there's some sour grapes involved also as well, because as you know, he was once the brand manager of the He-Man line when it was what they call it, the classics, the classics figures, and he was unceremoniously fired from that. And Super 7 stepped up to the plate and finished the line out after they got rid of him.
I remember him fondly as being the knucklehead who came up with the Matty Collector concept, which made it really hard for me to find certain figures for my DC Universe classics.
Well, Melvor says they should have named him Frog Mongor instead of Monger, which, people may wonder what a monger is. Well, I know what a fishmonger is. A fishmonger is a person who sells fish, usually freshly caught fish on the dock, and they smell a fish. The fishmonger will come in and you smell him coming down the street. He smells like fish.
Right. Monger is basically the word for merchant. Like there were ironmongers and, people who worked in certain crafts. That was kind of the term in the old English.
Now, if I had my way, they would have called him the frog mongler, because he would be down there mongling those frogs down there. So, and I think that may have been why you were concerned about the safety of this show for work earlier today. Ian Sweeney said, I would trust him for the time if we stood in front of Big Ben. He wouldn't trust him for the time, even if he was standing in front of Big Ben. Well, the clock's right twice a day, and that's two times more than Scott Nylick has been about the end of the Origins line, which he's been predicting ever since it started. But like I said, I think there's some sour grapes involved here because, first of all, one of the reasons that he was let go was because of his idea and his push uh, for the classics line to be released through Matty Collector and the whole Matty Collector and this online club that you had to subscribe to.
Yeah.
So in order to get the figures that you wanted, you had to get all this shitload of figures that nobody gave a shit about, including one of Scott Nylick himself. And well, actually, two of Scott Nylick himself, if you count the Mighty Spectre, which didn't even belong in the damn line in the first place. So,
yeah, I was not a fan of Matty Collector. I did not like it. Although
there it is.
there are some good figures that came out of it.
Ted Yarclaw says, "Hey guys, just stopped in. Sadly missed the Frogmonger, but I'm about to open my 40th anniversary He-Man." Well, good,
Nice.
good deal there, Ted.
Yeah, this was one of the Matty Collectors. They did the figures from the original Watchmen comic books. So the comedian's one of my desk buddies.
Yeah,
I liked the figures, but Matty Collector just made it really hard to collect them.
Well, here's something that I've heard about those Watchmen figures. I heard that the release of those Watchmen figures pissed off who was it?
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore quite a bit, because Alan Moore said he didn't want any of his characters to ever be marketed as action figures like that. As a matter of fact, there was a joke inside of the comic itself about that, if I'm not mistaken.
There was. A lot of people misunderstood Watchmen, and it was designed to be a satire and a dark satire at that. So yeah, he didn't want these to become mainstream heroes and villains. He was trying to tell a particular story from a particular point of view. So yeah, he did not appreciate the marketing that went around the book that he worked on.
Laser pants. This is an outrage. I've never been so pissed off in my life. Heads must roll. And then, of course, we get this. This is an outright. Wait. This right here. Let me see. Everything's moving too fast. I'm kidding. I don't even collect Motu. What's going on? We're talking about the Frogmonger. Nobody's pissed off today. I think everybody got their chance to get it, even though it did sell out. Those who really, really wanted it were there and
right.
Got it pretty quickly. Let's see what Jordy Alfred's. Pretty soon they'll only have obscure characters left to make, so I can see them being online only. That's correct. I think that that what Scott Nylick may have, he may have heard some rumblings within his. He has three sources. What those sources are and where they came from and who they are, I don't know. I think one of them may have been Fred from Mattel, who showed up on another podcast about this. Ha ha, that was somebody else, of course, but it was funny as hell.
Right.
But I think the line is going to go to an online store of some sort run by Mattel. It's gonna come out of the stores eventually. When that's going to be there, Eduardo has come.
Eduardo has woke up.
He woke up. Anyway, I think it's going to go online. Now, is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing? It depends upon how it works. If it works like Mattel Creations, it may not be so good. However, if it's just a store and they have merchandise to sell and they sell it till it's gone, then that may be a whole different story. You get your chance to pre-order it, kind of like Big Bad Toy Store or somewhere like that.
Being in a place that's not in the continental U.S., I do a lot of online shopping, obviously.
Hey, there's Joneser. Joneser, are you still at work? I'm gonna send you a link here, in the hopes that maybe you made it all the way home.
So when it comes to buying things online, my go-tos have been Big Bad Toy Store and other people who specialize in doing retail in an online situation. And I've had real good fortune with that. Now, when it comes to the big companies, Hasbro Pulse and Mattel Creations, it's been hit or miss. I've ordered from both. I've had fairly good dealings with both, and then I've had some terrible dealings. Like with Mattel Creations, I ordered their radio control Batmobile they did a little while back, and it took a long time to get, but it came in one piece. You know, everything was okay with that. I just wonder, with especially when it comes to specific characters are really hard to get, you know, are they just going to cause collectors to pull their hair out by doing this all online, or is it just better to have it pay, you know, have it on the pegs in the store, and everybody has a chance to go and grab it, you know?
Well, I'll say this, okay. If Mattel opens an online store for their product, sort of like their Fisher Price stores that are around and their overflow stores that you see in certain larger areas, like I guess it's out west and maybe up in New York, that would be one thing. Okay, so they're not necessarily selling everything that they've got, but they're selling stuff that they have there in the warehouse that they're trying to get rid of. That would be one thing that they could do. Or another, it could be just another place to buy the merchandise that you would like to buy from them. Especially if you can't find it on the shelf pegs, maybe the store doesn't put that SKU out there that they haven't bought into it. You know, it's kind of hard to get that planogram planted into a store sometimes. You know, right now the only place that I know of that it's being sold is Walmart and Target. At one time it was a Walmart exclusive. So if Mattel has another place to sell it besides that, they may compete a little bit with Entertainment Earth and the big bad toy stores and Zoics and the other online stores that there's so many I can't name them all. A couple of them have disappeared on us, but yeah,
That's true. One of the newer ones is a Hella Dope Toys, and so far I've had real good dealings with them.
I think
and,
Ted Darkclaw is involved with
Mhm.
them as well. And Hella Dope Toys is releasing the Boglins. We talked about them not
Mhm.
too long ago. But what I'm saying is, if the line is not going to be carried by these stores, if stores are saying, "Hey, I'm gonna bring Joneser on in here.
All
Hey,
right.
Anthony, what's going on?"
Go on, folks.
Yeah, Joneser may agree with me or he may disagree, and I'd like to hear his point of view on this. If the stores are saying, if, like say Walmart and Target are saying, "Look, this is not selling well enough for us. We don't want to carry it on the shelf," but Mattel wants to continue the line because they know there's plenty of people, and Joneser as well, they're invested in this line, fully invested in this line, and they think they can make money off of them. If they made an online store for it, we would go over there and buy it, right? So that may be where the line winds up going when the stores say, "Okay, we're done carrying this," because that happens eventually. And
I'm gonna let you two folks talk about this. I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. I'll be back in a minute.
sure. And what do you think there, Jones? Or I'm curious what your thoughts are on all this.
Honestly, I think that's where it's all headed. I think because like you saw today with Frogmonger, that sucker was available for what, like an hour or two?
50 minutes, according to Adam. 50 minutes, yeah.
Okay,
So
so I think
that
they're
was a lot
starting
long.
to
That's a lot
gauge.
longer than anybody besides Space Sumo who hung around for like what, weeks and weeks and weeks. But that's
Right.
because it was a home figure that nobody wanted, that had already been released in a 3-pack. So why that was a mistake anyway.
Well, see, the reason I think for that is they're starting to gauge how many of these they sell regularly. They got an average number, and I do think they're starting to produce more of them. You know, it's meeting the demand because we're not going to sell out in 2 minutes, to sell out in 5 minutes like they used to. You know, so I think that they're starting to figure out how many potential buyers they got, and I think they're accommodating, or at least that's what I'm hoping is happening. I do think that it's all headed online, and I'll tell you why. We go to the stores, you can't find anything you want to find, and anything you don't want to find is there in abundance, and they just can't seem to figure that out.
Any comic Stratos. If you haven't watched the latest toy hunt video by our friend over there who does Drunk He-Man, Mr. Home Arcade did a toy hunt recently where he went out and he saw that the product is still skewed on the shelves. It's the planograms are there, but he saw a whole lot of that naked Stratos out there because he's shelf warming all over the place.
Yep. And you know, the King Grayskulls and the Beastmans and the Horns and Shiras from the Masterverse and the Trap Jaws, they're just sitting there at Target, and they've been sitting there for almost a half year.
I'll tell Rolo this. You may not have went on the line and bought you one, but you just never know what might happen. I'm just saying. Never say never. And we have a radical mom here in the house. Hi, Bill Joneser. Lots of frogs jumping today, she says. And yeah, I mean, let's see. Largo, he'll bring himself back in if he needs to. But yeah, I agree with you, Joneser. I think the line is not over. I think that they want to continue the line and get all the figures that haven't been produced done. We know that Snake Mountain is coming. They've already shown that off, and they're too far down the line not to release that. That's going to happen too. The other thing is that Scott's been telling us for all this time is that Universal owns the rights to Masters of the Universe. They don't own the toy rights, people. They own the rights to cartoons and movies and all that. They own the what is that called? The entertainment rights to it, not the toy rights. And yes, he's correct. Classic Media owned it. Classic Media was bought by DreamWorks. DreamWorks was bought by Universal. Blah 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 blah. So ultimately, Universal already had the film rights to it, and now they got the TV and toy TV rights. But nobody's got the toy rights but Mattel. Mattel owns the toy rights to that. They'll be the ones that are releasing all of the toys from here on out. So the Masterverse line, it may go online just like the Origins line, but they're too heavily invested in this to this point to kill it before at least they get the rest of the figures out.
I do think Origins will see a completion of the vintage line and some extras. Masterverse, I'm not so sure about. That seems to be kind of a, all over the spectrum as far as the She-Ra figures, the new Eternia figures. They're checking a lot of boxes. If they were to potentially get every single figure out there, that would be amazing, I would say. I think unlikely, to be honest with you. And the main reason for that, I think, is because with the Origins, you can get the play sets, the vehicles, and whatnot. I had to see a Masterverse vehicle or play set.
Rolo wants to know if somebody stole the razor blades in the Joneser household.
Yeah, we're on No Shave November. It's just January.
Okay, well, that's what I figured. He's just growing a beard there, Rolo. He like me. I don't like to shave either. And
it's funny. People always tell me I go from baby to grizzly to baby to grizzly to baby to grizzly. That's just go, I guess.
And Pink Power of Grayskull says, what's funny is that they bought an extra naked Stratos Wave about a year ago, wanting to sell them and sit on them and sell them when the value went up. Serves them right. Okay. If they went Mattel only, I would buy a lot fewer because with international shipping, they are so expensive. That is a point there, Jordell Fresh Breeze, but it is what it is. Melbourne. Universal has the cartoon rights from what I understand, and that's how Super 7 was able to do the cartoon-inspired figures, I think. And that's correct. And when they did the cartoon-inspired figures, they had to pay a royalty to Universal to put them out. And Spectre Creative keeps saying that they had to write a check to whoever owned the rights every time they released a figure. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I bet you this. I bet if Mattel stops producing the figures, that if Universal wanted to do toys of Masters of the Universe, they would have to go to Mattel first because they got first rights of refusal on that. How about that?
Well, I think there's also some hubbub about the music from the Filmation show. I don't think Universal has to say so on that. I want to say it's NBC or somebody like that.
Correct, because they couldn't use any of that music when Kevin Smith released his cartoon.
Because he wanted to, and they looked into that, but they would have had to, work that freaking check, and they guess they just deemed it
and they
not
don't like
worth
to
it.
pay that money if they can keep from it.
Well, and what's funny to me is that music is iconic. You know what I mean? And you hear that, and it checks boxes for me for nostalgia. And,
exactly. And that's one of the reasons why when we do our little tributes with our action figures, we like to put that music behind it because it puts the feels out there. Max Reversal Toy Hunter, our friend Eldor there in Eternia, says, yes, with the international shipping over here, we join up with other guys to split pay on postage to save on shipping, and one person buy. So one person will buy a lot of figures for everybody and pretty much pay one shipping cost, and then they'll pay him back for the figures. So that makes sense.
That's incredibly smart.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure that in the cases of things like that there would be places like Germany. I know is big into Motu, Canadians and Mexico and places like that. That similar things would happen if this were to go online only. And I think that is the future of the Origins line as it reaches the end of what there is to produce. But I think that Mattel is going to try to get that into the stores as much as they possibly can for as long as they possibly can.
You would think that would make sense.
I think the business is changing. I mean, honestly, and I think we all feel that. The market is becoming more adult. I think that the way people buy things and the way people do things nowadays is turning more online. I just think the business is changing, much like the music business changed with like Spotify and Napster and whatnot. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering. I see a section in Walmart and other places that have a few CDs, and of course the nostalgia of the vinyl records has come back here. I think that's a fad, but they're selling those. But you don't see as big a music section as you used to see. For one thing, you don't see as wide a variety of music as you once saw. I mean, hell, there used to be huge record stores that you could go in and spend days in if you wanted to and never see everything that they had in there. There was one up there in Memphis that's gone out of business. They're all gone now.
I remember I used to go to Best Buy and they'd have like 4-5 aisles of just CDs. And, and I would just spend forever looking through that. You go to Best Buy now, maybe one shelf or two, and that'd be it. It ain't there. People don't buy it that way anymore.
No, most music is digital anyway now, and people will go and they'll listen to what they want to listen to, and that's the end of it. They don't want to have physical media. A lot of people don't even collect DVDs or whatnot anymore. I'm a big physical media fan. Yeah, I had all the VHSs that I could no longer watch anymore. But I replaced most of that with DVDs, and I'm going to stick with my DVDs. I'm not giving up my damn DVDs. When the internet's gone and I can't watch my movies, I can still fire up the old DVD player and pop in a DVD and watch it, or a Blu-ray or what have you.
I'll tell you what, a good way to tell if I really like something is if I bought a physical copy. Exactly. If I really like it, I've got a DVD of it. If I really like it, I've got the CD. If it was something, I'll watch it when I can, or I'll listen to it when I can, then I didn't buy one.
Well, and it's nice too with newer technologies, whether it be Blu-ray or 4K. Sometimes when they'll do a re-release of a classic film that you enjoy watching over and over, they'll add little extras, some behind the scenes, or maybe they'll gussy up the picture or the sound a bit. So I am definitely a fan of physical media when it comes to classic TV and cinema.
All right, it's 5:30 now. We're going to have to end this one around a little bit before 6, Largos, because we have something we have to attend. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. We do.
So
you should probably put a shout out there for folks so they know.
Yeah. Well, I figured that folks who know. Okay. So
Well, that's fair.
however, let's make sure that we feed the ducks at least 5 minutes beforehand so that we can all get set up for that, Largo, if you don't mind.
Alrighty.
So I appreciate that. But back to what we were talking about. Yeah, things have changed. Recently, I think Grindhead Jim, I think he had a stream on this. We can touch on that if you want there, Jones. So what happens to toy collecting when us guys who are the last of the toy collectors are gone?
That might be it. I mean, unless the younger generation like Lyric picks it up, that might be it.
See, here's what I've said, and I'll continue to say this. There will always be a toy section at Walmart, folks. However, that section over there behind the music, it's really shitty at Walmart where they have all those pops and all that crap. That will go away. Okay, that's got a limited life. And when the last of the Gen Xers are gone, that's going to go away because there will be nobody to sell that shit to anymore. And it's the same thing for highly articulated action figures in those stores. Now you may have a niche market for it like you do for Action Force, which you collect there, Largo. But there are various places to find that, and you're not finding those on the shelves in Walmart, are you?
No, at this point, they're mostly available through Valaverse themselves. Larger there is an Amazon presence now for folks who can't get them here or want to get them internationally or what have you. Hella Dope Toys is now carrying some of the Series 2 and, of course, Big Bad Toys. So there's ways to get it that work and they're comfortable, but I don't know if we're ever going to see them on retail shelves in the near future. Don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Like I said, when the Gen Xers are gone, that's gone too. But
Maybe.
what you're going to have though, you're going to have toys. They're not going to be for big kids like us. They're going to be for little kids like it used to be. I mean, right now you go and look at those little cheap ass Marvel figures. A mom will buy those for their kid, but they're not buying a Marvel Legends for their kid.
Right. Well, most 5-year-olds don't care about articulation. They would just want a character to play with. That's why we like those Kenner 5 points.
What do you think there, Joneser?
Honestly, I do think some of this stuff has like you mentioned Marvel Legends. I do think that there are comic fans who will probably continue to action figure collect and whatnot. I think there will be Nerf guns, there will be Hot Wheels, there will be remote control cars. There are certain things that are safe.
That's true.
I hate to say it because this one's going to hurt me, but do you think my beloved He-Man is probably not as safe as I'd like it to be? Because I do think that my generation, I mean, it's like you look back at, how safe is the Lone Ranger right now?
Right. He was super popular at a time, but yeah.
Yep. And
they killed the Lone Ranger when they released that movie a few years ago that was awful with Johnny Depp in it playing Tano.
I don't know what you're talking about. I must have missed that.
Yeah, some of us have blocked that out. But that brings up a good point, guys. We often talk about the zeitgeist, what's going on in our consciousness as a culture. There are certain things that seem to be universal. Kids still play with toy cars, Matchbox, and Hot Wheels. They still play with. Hot
Wheels aren't going anywhere, folks. They're going to stay there
so there's certain things there's certain things that just keep going and are always popular, and then there's certain things that are popular for a certain time period because it's in the zeitgeist, whether it be in comic books or TV or movies. Something in the culture is keeping it alive. So I don't know, with the brands that we enjoy, I don't know how they're going to continue in that way, but it'll be curious to see.
Well, Grindhead Jim is talking down here. He says, I have to wonder if perhaps the high end stuff is what survives, like statues. Of course, if you watch Toy Grinds on Mondays, you know that Jim always shows a $200 or $300 or $400, sometimes $500 statue on there of some character. The statues are absolutely wonderful. I'm not buying that. I'm not spending $500 for a statue this big, you know.
But Bill,
Do I
is
have
that
any
a toy
statues?
or is
Yes,
that
of course
art?
I do. As a matter of fact, I'll show you one of them right now. And I bought this several years ago, and it has done nothing but collect dust up here. And I don't know how long, why I bought it at the time I bought it, but I'm going to get it down. But I've got to move a few things out of the way in order to get him. And this thing weighs a fucking ton. But here we go.
Wow. All right.
This is a statue, folks, and it's a very good statue, and it's a very good likeness of Superman. Look at the dust.
Well, yeah, I think like Jones was saying, that falls more into the category of art. I mean, we all have art in our homes, and it usually reflects things that we appreciate. Yeah. So
the sculpture, it's a knick-knack. It's not a toy.
Yeah.
It's a decorative piece.
Not a toy. I don't play with that. As you can see, it just sits up here on my mantle above my fireplace and collects dirt.
Yeah. Screw Your Feelings has a point. I kind of agree. He says the problem is parents putting kids in front of the TV or their phones, having that in their face instead of giving them toys to play with, which actually causes them to use their creativity and imagination. So there is something to that.
Well, you know, they talk about the digital phones and the video games as well, but I still think that little kids play with toys. They want to boinky boink. They want to have trucks and cars. And action figures are going to go back to what they were. Limited articulation, 5 points of articulation, you know, arms, legs, head.
Yeah.
Because that very durable, so they can endure the play of a child.
The toys I remember
Lego will continue. Lego will live on.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Lego's not going anywhere. And that kind of is something where kids can use their imaginations, and they can also do the boinky boink, and you know what I mean? I don't think Lego's going to go anywhere, but Lego's kind of what it is. It's not going to change, you know. They've tried that and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I Bill, I know, is old enough to remember. Fisher Price put out a set called the Adventure People, and they were basically 5 or 6 POA, and those got played with by.
They were proto Star Wars people. As a matter of fact, when they did the prototypes for the Star Wars, they used Adventure People to make the prototypes when they pitched it.
And that was a toy company that definitely had an eye on what kids are actually playing with. And that's what they came up with. And it was very successful. And then, it definitely spurred what Kenner did with Star Wars. And then we saw this explosion in, small action figures for, a couple decades now.
And Ted Darklaw is I want to steer you toward Wilhelm Toys and Hobby. He says that in 2050, we'll live in the metaverse and play with our NECA NFT figures in virtual reality.
Oh Lord. Yep.
I hope not.
I'm not spending my money for virtual toys. What about you, Joneser?
Nope. No, I thought in my video game, maybe that'd be about as virtual toy as I get is playing the video game.
And Melville wonders if having a video game to support a toy line would be more effective than a cartoon with this generation. Well, he's got a point. Justice was it Justice League Injustice or whatever that was called? It was video game and then became action figures and everything else.
And Fortnite has some figures now.
Of course, Johnny Sorensen brings up a point. If NECA makes NFTs, will they break?
They'll probably glitch. That would be my guess.
Before you even get it out of the package, it'll break.
Yeah. Well, Hasbro's going to is become notorious for that with the new Dungeons and Dragons figures based upon the cartoon show, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I like the cartoon those are based on, but I probably won't buy the figures just because I've heard quality control. There's a lot of issues with the joints breaking, and I don't like the fact that you get a box that has no picture window. You have to hope that somebody painted it right at the factory. You have to hope it's not broken, and then you open it up, and you're usually,
well, you have
faced
to
with disappointment.
also hope that some ass didn't already buy it, take the figure out, and stick something else in there, and then take it back to get their money back for it.
That's true.
Let me address Rolo here for a minute because he's pulling my chain. Can you please show us your soda pop collection and some of your Funkos? I have none to show you, sir, because I have none in my house at all, ever.
I have heard that Funkos are really good. The pops are good at using at the rifle range for target practice. That's just a rumor.
Well,
I might like that.
Rolo's got explosives. He already blew up a tiger down there. Injustice was a comic run first. It also had an animated adaptation, Chicken Egg, whatever, says Grindhead Jim.
Sure.
But I think the video game was more popular than all of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe. It's definitely interesting to see how it all shakes out because
Are
there's,
you being told that you have to get out of there and go somewhere else there, Jones? Or
Me, no, I was communicating with the boys. He
okay.
got his setup up in his room, and he's trying to move a desk around. He's trying to give me a desk that I'm probably gonna incorporate in my setup here. There's moving some furniture.
Now Melville brings up a point here about the laser sharks, and just stay tuned, folks. Resurrection Toys will be doing laser sharks. Laser sharks are a must.
Now, as far as things that are in the zeitgeist, I think we can all agree the laser shark is here to stay. People want laser sharks.
Laser sharks have been needed. They're a needed thing. You guys are on fire tonight. Are you guests on another show tonight? No. As soon as this is over with, we've got something else that we've got to do, but it's not going to be something that's being broadcast. No.
Yeah.
Johnny Swartzen says the games are more popular but harder to get to a 1 to 3 year old toy cycle line out of them as the games are gone in 5 minutes and on to the next one. Not in my house, and if I find out there's a Funko in his one, it'll be for sale. The house, I mean. There's a rumor that they might be using the Injustice storyline in the next Superman and Lois season. I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, they're gonna get as much mileage out of that as they possibly can.
I sure hope not, Ian, because Ian and I have talked about this briefly. We like classic Superman. We liked it when he had virtues and a code of conduct, and he was the pinnacle of superhero.
That ultimately is why Superman and Lois has been doing as well as it has, and the rest of the bull crap that they've been doing with Superman has been failing out the butt, in my opinion, of course.
I'm all for a different take on a character and looking at something different. That's why the What If comics were so popular with Marvel. But don't get away from what the core of the character is. There should be nobility. He should be a true hero. That's why I don't appreciate things like Injustice, where they want to set up Superman as this terrible dictator, and it seems out of character.
Well, that's the thing. So we saw this in several movies that weren't necessarily Superman, but they were kind of poking at Superman a little bit. What happens if somebody like you or I or just a normal, regular, everyday person gets the powers of Superman? Well, they would become insane, and they would do the things that people would do if they had those powers. What makes Superman special is the fact that he wouldn't ever and never has. It doesn't even occur to him to do that, which is why no matter what happens, Lois gets killed by the Joker. It doesn't matter. He's not going to go insane and start killing innocent people as a result of that and becoming some sort of what he's not. Grindhead Jim says, for all this browbeating about those damn laser sharks, I better see a metric ass ton of orders. Look, you'll get my order. I know that.
Hey, it was Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Exactly. You make laser sharks, we will buy.
I want to get on that Superman vibe you guys were just talking about there. With the thing that really gets me with Injustice is like what Largo was saying, is it's just so out of character. And quite honestly, to me, it's hard to tell a Superman story to me of homicidal or crazy Superman, because to me that's unstoppable. You know what I mean? Like, he just melt everybody on sight, and he'd be smashing people with his farts, and you know what I mean? He just, to me, it's not you can't stop that. That'd be like an evil Flash, you know?
Yeah.
How do you even begin?
Well,
Right. And there's plenty of great villains that we can explore that have similar powers. It's like, do that, but don't mess up the hero.
Here's the thing, guys. King Hell Comics and Rick Veitch did this years and years ago with the Maximortal. Okay, if you want to see, and you want to read that, go read the damn Maximortal. It's already been done. Don't do it with Superman. It ain't necessary.
Sure. Whether it's parody or satire, it's out there, and so it's been explored.
Another point I wanted to bring up was with the Ben Affleck Batman. They had Batman killing, and to me, if you have Batman in a world where he kills and he didn't kill Joker,
that's...
really,
well,
that's like the one person I think Batman might consider killing, if anyone. And if you're gonna have him like branding people and putting them in prison, and he's a sick, sadistic kill Batman guy, and he's not gonna kill Joker.
Well, here's the thing. Snyder was in love with Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and he wanted to put as much of that into this Batman that he possibly could, not realizing that when Frank Miller wrote that, it wasn't to be the Batman story that we read all the time. It was to be a possible future for Batman, or a possible end game for him. Okay. And the other thing is, and the one thing that is kind of stuck in my craw with all the Batman movies that they've made, including the one that I love so much from the 1989 Michael Keaton one, was Batman having machine guns on the Batmobile and killing villains. Batman don't use weapons like that. He doesn't use guns. He doesn't use rifles. He doesn't use any of that, because it's been well established. I know in the golden age before all of this got established, but that's proto what I'm talking about. It was established early on that because of Batman's parents were killed by a firearm, that he would never use firearms in his quest for justice.
Right. In my opinion, if you wanted a perfect Batman movie, you should have done it when Neil Adams was around. Bless his heart. He knew how to write Batman. I loved Neil Adams' Batman.
Yeah, Johnny Sorensen brings up a good point. Irredeemable and Authority did it better than Injustice. In other words, this was stuff that had already been done. There's no need to retell it using the characters that they were parodying in this stuff.
That's right.
So,
now, I do have a burning question to bring us back around, because we've gotten off on a tangent like we always do.
Well,
why does Frogmonger have teeth? Frogs don't have teeth, do they?
Well,
looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. Come on, man. Matter of fact, they've even created a backstory for the Frogmonger, and I'm sure that the mini comic in there will go into that. I would hope. But apparently, the Frogmonger was originally a sorcerer prince on Eternia, and he was captured and turned into the Frogmonger and then vanished.
Okay.
And that's telling us it's time to go feed some doves. So he's not a frog per se, but he's been turned into a frog-like creature, and he's a frogmonger. He's selling freaking frogs down there in the dungeon. I mean, he's not a frog himself. He's a seller of frogs, right? He's a monger.
Okay, fair enough. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle. Wait, that's a different franchise.
No, Shooting Star.
Well, it's been fun hanging with you guys.
Wait a minute. Even better, SpongeBob SquarePants. Nobody cares.
Imagination.
Nobody cares. or it's just a toy. We should really just relax, as Mystery Science Theater 3000 would tell us. But anyway, yeah, enjoyed having everybody here. Glad y'all showed up. Glad you showed up, Joneser.
Always a good time talking to you two cats.
Yeah, and this was a surprise midweek stream because of Frogmonger, and that's the only reason why I wanted to come on and do this. But anyways, guys, we'll see y'all next time. Good journey.
Special thanks to these supporters on Patreon. Without your help, these adventures would not be possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's adventure, please hit like and subscribe and share the video.